Welcome back to the Circular Economy Show. I'm Jess.
And I'm Lou. And on this month's show, we're going to be exploring policy, textiles and design.
This month, Valerie, one of our senior policy officers, will be talking to Danielle from the Australian Fashion Council about extended producer responsibility for textiles.
Seb's been to see how ACS offer us a glimpse into a possible new future for the fashion industry.
We're finding out how Julie, from the Danish Design Center, employs strategic circular design to help businesses build new circular models. So it's been a while since we've had Lou in the studio. Great to have you back.
Thanks, Bud. I've been lurking in the engine room of the Circular Economy Show for a little while.
I see that, but it's really nice to actually have you with me in the hot seats together for the first time ever.
I can only concur, Jess. But enough about us. Now, you guys have probably heard us talk about EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, in relation to plastics. But what if we could take that same principle to ensure it diverts textiles from incineration and landfill and keeps them in the system for far longer? The European Commission have proposed introducing mandatory and harmonised EPR that could really offer some significant environmental and economic benefits.
So Valerie, from a policy team right here at the Foundation, is going to be speaking to Danielle Kent from the Australian Fashion Council to find out how the Aussies are taking EPR to our friends in the fashion industry down under.
Hi Danielle, good to see you.
Hi Val, it's nice to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
Welcome on the show. You are here because you have a plan as the Australian Fashion Council. It's a plan called Seamless, and you're wanting to transform how clothing is made, how it's put on the market in Australia, how it's used, reused, repaired, and ultimately recycled. How is that plan going to work, and who's behind the plan?
So what's happened in Australia is that about 2 years ago, there was a group of organisations that came together, the Australian Fashion Council, Charitable Recycling Australia, RAP UK and Queensland University Technology, and Sustainable Resource Use. And they formed a consortium, received some funding from government, so that was really good. And what we've been doing over the last couple of years is designing and developing Seamless as a national clothing product stewardship scheme. So in Australia, we have product stewardship schemes, and they're almost like our extended producer responsibility program. So they're one in the same for us. But so we have been designing this clothing product stewardship scheme, very much industry owned, industry led, and it's the first of its type that's really looking at the full life cycle of clothing, so full circularity. And only in June this year, we launched 2 reports that kind of put together a whole range of recommendations out of that work. And we also pulled together a roadmap to clothing circularity by 2030. So we definitely have the plan ready to go.
Great. And why textile waste? Is it a growing issue? Is it a real problem in Australia currently?
In Australia, Australians consume up to 56 items of clothing per person, and that is huge. We're one of the biggest consumers of clothing in the world, and that's certainly not a statistic that we should be proud of. And because of that overwhelming amount of textiles and clothing that are coming into the Australian market, we don't have the systems to deal with textiles as it's disposed, and most of it, we know that about 200,000 tonnes a year is heading straight into landfills.
And is that due to the way that collection schemes currently work in Australia? Is it because they're rather small scale or fragmented, or why is it that so many tons of textiles end up in landfill currently?
Well, I think that, Australia has a really vibrant charity network. So Australians love to donate. So we do have some systems in place, but we're right at the start, I suppose, of building a national scheme. So there's national systems. There's lots of fantastic initiatives happening on the ground individually, but the value proposition for Seamless and what we know through our work over the last 2 years, and by pulling down best practice from across the rest of the world, is that no single organisation can achieve circularity on their own. So we do need to bring together in a systemic policy-based, we need all the players at the table looking at the way in which we can reduce and combat textile waste, because right now individual efforts are not moving the needle.
Yeah, sounds very familiar. We've come to the same conclusion in Europe recently, where we're seeing that we need this sort of collective solution to cover the costs, because that is what it is, costs associated with collecting textiles and clothing after use, with sorting them, with making sure that they can get recirculated and so on. That's simply a financial burden currently. And so to cover that financing gap, we need to act collectively and build a common system and infrastructure. So very, very similar to what we're seeing in the EU currently. What's a bit more tricky, at least what we're seeing here in Brussels, is the discussions around just how much is EPR meant to cover in terms of fees that you attach to products being put on the market. I think you landed on a 4 cents per item fee, is that correct? And how is that total funding going to be used exactly?
So what we did extensive economic modelling throughout the last 2 years, and we didn't just start with the 4 cents. I think that's a really important point, is that we looked at big picture. What are the objectives that we're trying to achieve? So what is the size of the market? So we sort of looked at all that clothing data to understand the material flow through Australian markets. But what are we wanting to do with that? Then we took the objectives and drew that down to, how many brands and clothing providers are there in Australia? So what's the level of income we could achieve? And then drilled that down even further to what's that per unit model. And we looked at weightings and we looked at all different types of models. And we definitely looked around the rest of the world to see what's happening in other areas where the best work's happening, but also lessons learned from what hasn't worked so well. And we arrived at the 4 cent per unit. And then what that money means is that we can create a single administrative fund, and within that fund we would look at 4 priority areas for Seamless, and that is circular design, so looking at how products design out waste in the first instance, looking at reduction strategies, so being smarter right from the start, thinking about the end in mind. Then we look at circular business models, the second part of Seamless. So that's those business models that decouples virgin resource use from economic growth. We're not afraid of the word growth. We think we have to find harmony between profit and growth, but also sustainability, and what does that look like? And so circular business models are really the area where we want to look at, like resale, repair, subscription models made to order. We are seeing some of this pop up in Australia, but we want way more. It needs to be normalised. Then the third part of the scheme is about closing the loop. So this is a significant component of the funds, and that would be about bringing in a collection system for unwearable clothes, which currently doesn't exist in Australia. So for Aussies, when they get to that point where they, their T-shirt, there's holes in it and they can't donate it, they can put it in. All they can do now is put it in the bin. And then the fourth one, which is really important, is citizen behaviour change. So that's a national campaign that will look at the way that citizens buy better, care for clothes, and think about the way that they dispose them when they do come to their end of life.
And I suppose ultimately the goal of Seamless is to achieve a circular economy for fashion in Australia by 2030. Is Seamless enough to achieve that and to really spark that quite fundamental change across the fashion industry? Or do you think there need to be other policy incentives possibly put in place?
There definitely needs to be others. We can't just set Seamless and forget and think, it's all done, Seamless will cover everything. So there is definitely a whole range of strategic enablers, I sort of think of them as, that have to underpin Seamless, and that's about good policy, investment, skills and training, so that we have the workforce ready to go in this entire new economy of jobs when it comes to circular economy. We have identified that in our roadmap, which is the document I talked about at the start. So that really sort of paints the picture so everyone understands the part they get to play in reaching that circular economy by 2030.
And if you say everyone has their part to play, it's quite interesting to see that Seamless currently is a voluntary initiative. So you're asking businesses to voluntarily step up their game. They're not forced to do it by any sort of legislation or other means. Is that going to stay that way for the time being? Do you see it becoming mandatory over time?
We know that the government we are talking to government about regulation, and our current minister, Tanya Plibersek, has been very strong about her expectations around expecting the brands and industry to sign up to Seamless by the 30th of June 2024, or else she will regulate. But I don't think any industry wants to be regulated, and I think that the 4 cents per item is much smaller, a much smaller fee than what a regulated scheme would be, which would also have a lot more government control around it. So I think that where we are right now is the best place to start. I think that the industry should own and lead Seamless in a way that makes it their own, because there's so much room for flexibility and agility around those circular elements we talked about, and innovation and leadership. It won't necessarily look like that under a regulated scheme. So we've got 8 or 9 months to kind of pull up our socks and show government that we could do it, and that they don't need to intervene. But we'll see.
All right. Well, I wish you all the best of luck with that. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thanks, Val. It's been great to chat to you.
Thanks so much to Valerie and Danielle for sharing their experiences from different hemispheres on different sides of the world. Jess, I love that those two are connected and that geographical boundaries in no way impede the ambition behind EPR.
And those are some of the challenges that the fashion industry is currently experiencing, but specifically from a policy point of view. But what about those businesses who are already applying circular business models into action? And we sent Seb to find out how ACS is successfully integrating the 3 Rs: resell, rental, and repair.
That's right. Seb actually does a bit of a deep dive for us on how this diversity has empowered ACS to bring 3 different business models together, all under the one roof. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Seb. I'm at Europe's largest circular fashion hub, ACS Clothing, where they bring circular business models like resale, repair and rental to life. I'm going to get started by meeting their CEO, Andrew Ruff.
We operate Europe's largest circular fashion hub, so we provide services to fashion brands and retailers, which encompass, say, rental, resale and re-commerce. We're really trying to enable brands to adopt circular fashion solutions, change the way that they operate from a traditional linear model to circular solutions. On our rental side, we are dispatching 3 million clothing items a year, but we want to get 3 million clothing items back. You wouldn't expect Hertz or Avis to lose their rental cars. It's exactly the same ethos here. We want to always get our rental assets back and keep on turning them around, because it's changing that concept from manufacturing items and then selling them to, yes, manufacturing items, but utilising them many times over. So it's all about asset utilisation. Rental is very much about maximum sales from the least amount of inventory. The key is to allow brands to grow quickly. We enable that ability for them to scale. They don't need to invest in a circular solution such as this. I would argue that it's the best facility of its type, not only in Europe, but in the world. Traditionally, we've serviced rental for weddings and one-off, but there's no reason why that can't be expanded into everyday rental. And you can see from what we're working with here is garments that are worn as part of a normal everyday. If you'd come back here 5 years ago, we would have just been dealing with men's formal wear. You can see what we've evolved over that piece of time. And that also reflects on how circular fashion solutions have been evolving over that piece of time as well.
The ACS facility deploys an array of technology to track and maintain their assets. Short and long-range RFID tags added to every garment ensure they know where the assets are at all times. A dynamic storage system enables an automated response to any order with the capacity to pick over 5,000 items for order per hour. And an array of highly optimized cleaning processes support the maintenance of clothing, including specialist ozone technology. And it's not only the technology that allows the facility to work. The team are experts in the extension of the life of garments too. I got a quick tutorial from Angela on some of the skills that enable ACS's rental proposition to work.
I am checking the ties for stains.
Saying you can't get out of the tie?
No, I'm pretty good actually getting most of the stains out. There's a stain on that one. I know it won't come out with just the gun on it.
I just know that by seeing.
I know that with seeing it, yeah, because you get experience. Yeah, I've been doing this for about 30 odd years now, so you know instantly. You know by the texture of it, you know by the smell of it, you know by the look of appearance of it. Dresses are more severe.
Dresses must surely be the hardest item.
Yeah, dresses are because you can get everything on dresses. Yeah. And I mean everything on dresses. So the first thing you would do is check your care label. If it's got one. Some of them you get in, you don't have care labels. But I know just by the feel of that, it's just a cotton dress, there's nothing special towards it. There's a thing that we call is, if anybody comes into dry cleaning, it's called focal. And it's focal is feel, odour. So you need to smell a garment, so you need to smell in case it's got perfume on it, deodorant, because we've got Hypercon that we can put on to take smell off. Location and appearance. So if its location is, if it comes in, it's on the neck, you know instantly it's going to be makeup, without fail. If it's under the arms, it's going to be deodorant stain or perfume. And then all the way down, it's going to be foot stain, because they always get foot. So that's a procedure you need to do when you're doing dresses.
Andrew, so I understand this is one of your latest brand collaborations.
Yeah, very much so. We're working with North Face. It's a really exciting opportunity for us at Advanced Clothing Solutions. Just to give you an example of the kind of work that we do, that is the normal zip on the jacket. When we received this jacket, the zip was broken on this side. So rather than discard that jacket, we actually removed the zip. So therefore you have an open pocket, and our plan is to remove the zip on that side so you have matching open pocket there as well. We could actually insert a press stud there as well, so you have a press stud there and a press stud there. So then that can then be sold to the next user of that jacket. So we are converting a jacket which has got a problem and hard for North Face to sell, and we're converting it into another asset that can then be sold to someone else.
It's almost like a redesign of the clothing.
Exactly, very much so. So it's not just about repair, but it's about the team thinking about how we can change the jacket to make it be able to be used as many times as possible. This is an example of us working with one of our denim brands. This denim brand offers a lifetime guarantee on their denim wear, and those items are then sent to us from the store when the end user hands them back. We receive them, we repair them, send them back to the store, who will then give them back to the owner of the jeans. So that's showing circular economy in process. We have to invest in the equipment to be able to do it, but it opens the door to work with lots of denim brands.
So ACS is making product circulation and product life extension happen in various ways. But it also struck me as I explored the facility and heard more about the North Face and Nudie Jeans examples that a lot of their work is led by creative problem solving and redesign. The business's social sustainability manager, Hayley, told me more.
It's not just like your typical kind of manufacturing plant in the sewing department. There's a level of creativity. We're taking things like the North Face garments, for example. That's remanufacture. You're having to kind of do a lot of problem solving. You're having to kind of match colours and see the different aspects of the garments that can be pulled apart and put back together. And I hear that in the sewing department. We're onboarding new clients all the time, and they're getting to learn new skills.
Basically what we're working with one of our partners is a clothing subscription service, where as the end user of the clothes can build a virtual wardrobe of items. So they stock up their wardrobe, then they get sent 2 pieces, and they can hold on to those 2 pieces for as long as they would like. If they return 1 item of clothing, then they would automatically get sent another piece from their virtual wardrobe. In these days of high cost of living crisis, people are getting access to clothes that they couldn't necessarily afford by paying for a rental service. So it's a win-win because the brand is benefiting from it from a commercial perspective because it's all about asset utilization. The assets that we have for garments which are through everyday subscription are the ones that have the highest utilization rate because rental's been very much associated with one-off events or weddings, but it doesn't need to be like that. This is
part of the shift that you're seeing, right,
yeah.
in general?
Yeah, because it's becoming increasingly popular. People want to get access to clothing, but they can get access to it without having significant carbon footprint. So there's a win-win from an environmental perspective and also from the end user. They don't need to buy so many clothes. And also for the brand, they're making a commercial win out of that offering that they're making.
ACS really is proof of the potential of circular business models in the fashion sector, where brands continue to make money without making new clothes. And their operation is already quite impressive. However, Andrew and the team know that much more is needed to continue to scale further.
In 2020, obviously we had the Fix and Fashion motion in Westminster. That included things like including repair skills on the curriculum or a 1 penny uplift in the cost of garments, which would bring in 35 million for the economy. We need investment, we need help from the government to make these circular economy models even more scalable. We need money at the end of the day, but also we need bigger consequences for not following these kind of procedures and laws.
Brands want to change. A lot of brands don't know how to change, and also they are on a journey themselves. So there is a need to accelerate that journey for them. We're talking about a fashion sector that is struggling with the way it currently operates, and how do we make them more profitable, more efficient, and more sustainable.
Well, what a great example of how ingenuity and really clever design can bring together 3 truly successful business models under the same roof.
Absolutely, Lou. And as we've seen previously, it can be incredibly challenging to apply circular design. So how can we ensure that businesses are actually not only given the agency, but also the courage to be able to take these major steps forward?
We're about to find out, because we went and spoke to Julie, a circular design strategist who is working towards changing the narrative around the circular economy. Julie brings policymakers and businesses from across all industries together to collaborate, think differently, and create a whole new story.
I didn't train and educate myself as a designer, but I'm working with design and practicing design for over 10 years. I actually studied arts, culture and communication. I've been working very much in the art sphere. What's always interested in me is not so much art in itself, but how it might affect society, how it might affect business or policy, and how we can interact across these different sectors. My passion is about being able to change things, making a difference. So design has that power. It also has the power to just make pretty things and comfortable things, but I think when we can use design to make people change their behavior, then that's what really drives me. I've been working in the design industry for some time now, and I think the industry has really lacked a bigger purpose. So design in itself, for me, I'm sorry, is not interesting. It's about how we might make a difference with design. So to me, design is not just about product design, about designing a product a little bit differently, using new materials. It's actually potentially world-changing. It's a new mindset. So how might we address how we design products, how we consume products, how we live a sustainable life? It's really about, for me, zooming out and addressing a completely new direction for society. So we know that 80% of a product's environmental footprint is determined in the design phase. It's in the design phase we take these really crucial decisions about how products are created, but also how they affect the user, and also how they travel throughout their life cycle. We need to take that first design phase very seriously, and not only just the design industry, but also businesses at large. When we decided to lean into the sustainable transition, we spent a lot of time figuring out how we really could make a difference. And that's when we settled on circular economy. And I think circular economy is so interesting because it's not just about inventing new products, it's about creating a shift from one paradigm, basically a linear paradigm, to a circular paradigm. And that's just not about only business models or products, it's also about new behavior, it's about new policy, and it's that big. And that's what's really fascinating for me, the complexity of that, navigating that complexity and bringing design into that space. I think we're beyond convincing people for sustainable transition. It's really much more about courage, it's about action, it's about insistence on doing something differently. It's great, especially also here in Denmark, where I work, how people are acknowledging that the transition to sustainability and circular economy is important, but actually staying in it and committing to it, I think that's where we need to go. We need to stop talking about it, we need to change our actions. Yeah. When we're helping that individual company move towards a circular strategy or circular business models, we have to help them move out into their supply chain, and that means moving out of Denmark, looking at how products are designed, how they're distributed, how they're sold. So we're really trying to help them de-risk that whole process of reaching out to partners, creating new collaborations, and in creating a safe environment for that to actually find those new business models that are viable for the individual company. And that's why we initiated this really ambitious project. It's called Decoupling 2030. And I think it's the first of its kind here in Denmark. It's an 8-year-long project. It involves over 600 companies, and it really pushes for their sustainable transition. And what's very radically different is the whole setup, the whole funding. We've sort of agreed on the goal. We've agreed that the companies involved are to work with sustainability across their organization in all 3 scopes, and really work to decouple their environmental impact from economic growth. So with this Decoupling 2030 initiative, I actually got hardcore engineers to admit that we're experimenting. We don't know where we're heading. I got them to collaborate together with designers, together with anthropologists about being explorative about where to go. And that's completely different from so many other ways of working. We have to be really clear about that whole tension between being dead serious and playing. And if we're just playing, it won't work. And we're just dead serious, we won't get anywhere. So we need to really understand what's the problem, what's at stake here. For many individuals, there's a lot at stake, and we have to take that really seriously. Design is a lot about empathy. It's about understanding whatever problems and issues that individual or that group has. So we have to be very empathetic with their context. And I've experienced that storytelling is such a crucial element of our work and our circular mission. And I think storytelling is actually really lacking in the debate today when we talk about circularity. I think for many people, circular economy is this vague concept. And if you look at the different models and illustrations, there's a lot of resource flows and it can be very technocratic. That is a very important part of circular economy. It is, and it shouldn't be forgotten. But the whole element of engaging that individual and the person in this being a completely new journey we're heading on, science has told us what to stop doing. Our imagination must tell us where to go. So we use design as this way to ignite our imagination. It can be really overwhelming. It can be very hard navigating and changing, creating sustainable change. And I see a lot of people that are let down by how the world is moving. And of course, I must admit, it also hits me sometimes really hard in the stomach. But I just have to zoom in on what I might do. And I really hope everyone does that. So how might I contribute? What's within my power? What's in the power of the Danish Design Center? My really great colleagues? What might we do? Let's not do what we can't do. Let's try to focus on how we can create something that might create new behavior, new change. Circular economy can become abstract, it can become theoretical, it can become complex. And it's quite important to step away from that once in a while to just get some motivation, energy, inspiration elsewhere. And those spaces can, for instance, be when I go running by the beach where I live, which is great. I like to walk, preferably in nature, in the woods. It's amazing to just get grounded. But also to go experience art, experience culture, and to get stimulated and also to get provoked by just how I think and feel, to get in another mode. For me, success is not about having that, happy partner or a happy business leader. It's about having seen that things are changing, that people are getting new insights and act differently. And it's about acknowledging that we've been working for a green transition and a circular transition for many years, but it's not really happening. So things have to be radically different. And it's a systemic discussion. So when I see policymakers perceiving circular economy differently, that's a success. When I see business leaders collaborating with someone they're not used to, that's a success. So for me, it's those small steps, seeing that the system that as we're used to, the linear system as we're used to, is slowly changing. That's what I keep my eyes out on. That's why I keep in a good mood when things are a little bit rough.
I absolutely love the way Julie brings so much passion and creativity unapologetically into her role. What a great way to end today's show. Thank you so much for joining us.
And don't forget to check out the Circular Economy Show podcast, which has just been shortlisted for 2 Lovey Awards. You'll be able to hear extended conversations from our guests on the show.
And don't forget, we also want to hear from you. If you've got a question, just use #AskTheCEShow.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.